7-3, Day 2, Equations with Decimals. Okay, today we're going to work on equations that contain decimals. I'm going to show you one way of solving an equation, which is by getting rid of the decimals and then solving. So, if we look at this problem, we have 0.7n minus 1.5 plus 7.3n equals 14.5. We're still going to follow our 5 steps to solving an equation. So step 1, we'll look for parentheses to get rid of using distributive property. We don't have those, so we'll go to step 2, we'll look for like terms. We actually do have 2 like terms on the left side of the equation, a 0.7n and a positive 7.3n. So if we combine those, that will give us 8n minus 1.5 equals 14.5. Now this is a point where if you want, you can get rid of the decimals. How you do that is you look and see how many digits do you have after the decimal point. In both cases, in the 1.5 and the 14.5, I have 1 digit after. Take the one that has the most digits. That's going to be the one that you're going to use to get rid of the decimal. Since they're both the same, they both have 1 digit, I'm going to multiply by a 1 with 1 0, which is 10. So I'll multiply everything by 10, each term by 10, and that will give us 80n minus 15 equals 145. So we've gotten rid of the n's here. Or sorry, we got rid of the decimal points. We don't have a step 3, so we'll go to step 4. And by this point in time, you should kind of know how to do these. So we have, they're subtracting 15, so we'll add 15 to both sides. Those minus 15 and plus 15 cancel out, and since we have a positive, we can just add, and we have 80n equals 160. Step 5. They're multiplying by 80, so we'll divide both sides by 80. 80 over 80 is a big fat 1, and 160 divided by 80 is 2. So we get n is equal to 2. That's our answer. Number 2. 16.3k plus 19.2 plus 7.5k equals negative 64.1. Combine like terms. There's no distributive property, so we'll combine like terms. And we'll get 23.8k plus 19.2 equals negative 64.1. I'm going to multiply by 10 to get rid of the decimal points, because each one of the decimal points has 1 digit after it. That will remove the decimal points and leave us 238k plus 192 equals negative 641. No variables on both sides, so we'll go to step 4. They're adding 192, so we'll subtract 192 from both sides. When it's a subtraction problem, we need to ask ourselves, is there, well, first of all, we'll do that. That zeroes out. And I'll go back to the right side. Is there a negative? The answer is yes, it's negative 641. The other thing we need to ask ourselves is the first number smaller than the second? Which in this case it is also smaller because it's a negative and the other is a positive. If we answer yes to either of those, we need to change the sign to an addition problem. Addition. So negative 641 plus negative 192. We're adding. Sides are the same, so we'll continue to add. And since they're both negative, it'll stay negative. So we'll have 238k equals negative 833. Divide both sides by the coefficient of the variable. In this case, that's the number in front of the variable. 238 over 238 is 1. And if we do the division there, it comes out to a negative 3.5. Next problem. Number 3. Why don't you try to solve as much of number 3 as you can So pause the video, do what you can. If you get stuck, restart the video, get the hint you need, and pause the video again and finish it back up. Okay, so no distributive property, but there are like terms. So we combine those, we'll get 8.7m plus 2.1 equals 6.3. Sorry, 63. We want to get rid of the decimals, so we'll multiply by 10 again. It's not always going to be 10. Remember, it's how many digits you have after the decimal point, the one with the most digits. That's what we're going to use. So if we do that, we'll have 87m plus 21 equals 630. Subtract 21 from both sides. They'll zero out here. On the right side, we're going to check. It's a subtraction. Do we need to change it? Is the first number smaller than the second? No. 630 is bigger than 21. Is there a negative? No. There is a minus, but that's not, we're subtracting there, so we don't need to worry about it. So we can just do our subtraction. Step 5, they're multiplying by 87, so we'll divide both sides by 87, doing the opposite. 87 over 87 is a big fat 1. And we get 1m is equal to 7. Number 4. Again, why don't you go ahead and try to solve this problem. If you get stuck, you can get some clues by playing the video. Okay, so no step 1. Step 2, we'll combine like terms. No step 3. Step 4. Or actually, we're going to get rid of our decimals. Now we can do step 4. We'll add 43 to both sides. We don't need to change the sign because we're doing addition. Those zero out. We'll get 49a is equal to 490. Divide both sides by the coefficient. So we're going to divide both sides by 49. We'll get our big fat 1. And a is equal to 10. Number 5. A little bit different. Here we do have distributive property, but we have a decimal. So let's try to get rid of that decimal first by multiplying by 10. Now, 0.4 times the quantity 12 minus x, that's one term. So we're only multiplying that whole thing by 10, not each one of those numbers and variables. So when we do that, we'll end up with 4 times 12 minus x equals 180. I'd like you to try this one now that we've got it started for you. Finish this up. Hopefully you finished it up and you did distributive property and got 48 minus 4x equals 180. Next step is step 4. This is where people might make a mistake. We're not going to add 48, we're going to subtract 48 from both sides, because we're looking at what's in front of the 48, not what's behind it. Those 48s will zero out, and we'll get negative 4x is equal to 132. Another common mistake is not bringing down that minus sign in front of the 4. It says minus 4x, so we need to make sure that it sticks with there, with the x and the 4. Divide both sides by negative 4. Those cancel out, and we get x is equal to negative 33. And that's the end of the video. If you have any questions, be sure you let me know either on Edmodo or by bringing your questions to class. Thank you.